Welcome to Stories Junction. Let's begin today's story. Nothing hits you quite like the moment someone you love looks you in the eyes and says, I need to find myself. You want to trust it's just a phase, a fleeting need for space, but deep down, you sense the truth. They've already moved on. That's what happened with my girlfriend, Elise. She didn't see my next move coming. My name is Julian, and I met Elise during my final year at university in Portland. For a time, I was convinced she was my forever. We were together for 3.5 years, and I poured my heart into us. Maybe that's why her betrayal cut so deep. Before Elise, my romantic life was a string of dead ends. Some relationships lacked spark, others were lopsided, and a few crashed because of dishonesty. I started to wonder if love was just a myth for me. Then Elise came along, and it was like the world finally made sense. I fell for her hard. Her laugh, her quiet intensity, the way she seemed to get me. I'm not embarrassed to say I loved her with everything I had. Even when my job as a graphic designer got demanding, I made time for her. I wanted her to feel valued, cherished. After 2 years, we moved into a cozy apartment together in Seattle, and I thought we were building a future. But sometimes, when you're all in, you miss the cracks forming. A friend of mine, Sam, pulled me aside one evening at a bar. His words were simple but heavy. Julian, it feels like you're more invested than she is. Just watch out, okay? I laughed it off, told him he didn't know Elise like I did. I thought she was just guarded, that I understood her in a way others couldn't. After nearly 4 years, I believed I knew her inside and out. I was wrong. The shift started after we visited her family in Boise. I'd planned that trip with big intentions. I wasn't going to propose there, but I had a ring tucked away in my drawer, and I wanted her parents' blessing. I wanted to meet them, see where she came from, then come home and ask her to be mine forever. The visit went well, or so I thought. Her parents were kind, hospitable, no red flags. They asked about my work, shared stories about Elise's childhood, and even invited me to their summer cabin. I left feeling confident, like everything was falling into place. But when we got back to Seattle, Elise changed. She became distant, her warmth replaced by a cold edge. Her phone was always in her hand, and our conversations dwindled to one-word answers. I tried to talk, and it was like I was interrupting her. At first, I chalked it up to stress, maybe work, maybe something personal she wasn't ready to share. But days turned into a week, then 2, of silent dinners and half-hearted hugs. Sitting next to her on the couch felt like sitting next to a ghost. Finally, I couldn't ignore it anymore. One evening, I asked, Elise, what's going on? You've been different. She looked at me like I'd invented a problem, her voice sharp. Nothing's wrong, Julian. Why are you making this a thing? It stung, the way she dismissed me, like I was imagining the wall between us. I felt gaslit, but I didn't want to fight. I swallowed my unease and said, okay. But inside, I knew something was off. Then came a bombshell. One morning, she announced she was going back to Boise to clear her head and didn't want contact while she was gone. I pressed her gently. If you're just figuring things out, why cut me off completely? Her eyes met mine, steady and unyielding. It's about me, Julian. I'm feeling lost. Please respect that. I didn't want to force her to stay, so I nodded, said all right, and let her go. But the red flag was waving, and I couldn't unsee it. That first week without her was brutal. I replayed every moment, wondering if I'd been too much or not enough. Did I miss something? Was she struggling with something bigger? Family, mental health, burnout? I loved her, so I gave her the space she asked for, hoping she'd come back ready to talk. But then, one night after a long day, I opened Instagram to unwind. Scrolling mindlessly, I stopped dead when I saw a post from her sister, Claire. It was a carousel of photos from a lake house getaway, captioned, family vibes and good times blue heart #grateful. There was Elise, beaming, her arm around a guy I recognized instantly. Her ex from high school, Ryan. They weren't just posing. His arm was slung around her waist, her hand resting on his shoulder, their smiles too comfortable, too intimate. My stomach dropped. I'd followed Claire months ago after Elise tagged her in a post, and Elise probably didn't even know. Staring at that photo, I felt the pieces click together. While I was tearing myself apart, blaming myself for her distance. She was on a lake house retreat, wrapped up with her ex. She'd once sworn Ryan was ancient history, that he was the one who kept reaching out, that she felt nothing for him. I believed her. Now, the betrayal wasn't just the photo. It was the lie, the way her family seemed fine with it, the way they'd welcome me in Boise while knowing this was waiting in the wings. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there, questions burning. How did we get here? Was our relationship so disposable? By morning, I made up my mind. I wasn't going to beg or chase. I wasn't going to call and demand answers she'd never give. Instead, I started packing her things, her books, her clothes, the little succulent she loved. Not out of anger, but clarity. If she could walk away so easily, I could let her go. I boxed it all up, printed a shipping label to her parents' house, and paid for a signature on delivery. I wanted her to know, without a word, that I was done. The boxes were gone, shipped off to Boise with a signature required, and I felt a strange mix of relief and ache. I'd drawn a line, but it didn't erase the years I'd spent loving Elise. My apartment in Seattle felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath. I kept expecting her to call, to explain, maybe even to apologize, but the phone stayed silent for 3 days. Then, on the 4th, it rang. Her name lit up the screen, and my heart lurched. I let it ring, steeling myself. When I finally answered, her voice wasn't soft or remorseful. It was sharp, laced with indignation. "Julian, what the hell? You sent my stuff to my parents' house? Do you know how embarrassing that was?" She went on, saying I could have just talked to her, that I didn't need to make a statement. I stayed quiet, letting her words spill out. When she finally paused, I said, "You got what you wanted, Elise. You're free now." I hung up before she could respond. The silence that followed felt heavier than before, but it also felt final. I'd meant it. I was done. For the next few weeks, I threw myself into anything that kept my mind off her. Work became my anchor. I took on extra projects, sketching logos and designing websites until my eyes burned. My coworkers noticed I was quieter but didn't pry, and I was grateful. I didn't want to explain the hole in my chest or the way I kept replaying that Instagram photo of Elise with Ryan. I didn't tell anyone, not even Sam, who'd warned me months ago. Talking about it felt like picking at a wound, so I chose silence instead. But silence doesn't mean healing. Some nights, I'd lie awake, the betrayal gnawing at me. How could she lie so easily? How could her family smile at me in Boise, knowing she was slipping back to her ex? The questions looped, unanswered. I started running in the mornings, pounding the pavement along Puget Sound, hoping the burn in my lungs would drown out the noise in my head. It helped, but only so much. Grief, I learned, doesn't follow a schedule. One day I'd feel steady, like I was moving forward. The next, I'd wake up hollow, like the last 3 years had been a dream. Then, about a month later, a text came through. "Julian, can we talk? I miss you." It was Elise. I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to respond, to demand answers, to hear her say it was all a mistake. But another part, the part that had packed those boxes, knew better. I left it unanswered. A day later, another text. "Please just say something." Then another. "I didn't mean for things to end like this." I left those on read too. My silence wasn't petty. It was self-preservation. I'd spent weeks blaming myself, but that photo had shown me the truth. She'd made her choice long before she admitted it. Her persistence didn't stop. A week later, she sent a voice note. Her voice was softer now, almost pleading. "Julian, I messed up. My parents, they've always loved Ryan. They kept pushing us together, saying he's stable, that he fits with our family. I didn't want to disappoint them. It wasn't about you." I listened, waiting for something real, an apology, an acknowledgement of the lie, but it never came. Instead, she painted herself as a victim, caught between her parents' expectations and her own confusion. I deleted the message and didn't respond. The next day, another voice note. This time, she was crying. "I didn't want him, Julian. I swear. It was just pressure. I got caught up in it. Can we meet? I need to explain." I listened, my jaw tight. Pressure? She looked happy in that photo, her hand on Ryan's shoulder, her smile wide. I sent one reply. "You made your choice. Stay with him. That unleashed a flood. More voice notes followed, each one more desperate. She said Ryan was a mistake, that her parents had invited him on the trip without telling her, that she'd only gone along to keep the peace. She begged for a chance to make it right. I didn't buy it. If it was all a mistake, why wait a month to reach out? Why parade around with him while I sat in Seattle, questioning everything? I sent one final message: don't contact me again. Then I blocked her number. The act felt like shutting a door I'd left cracked open too long. It hurt, but it also freed something in me. I wasn't her fallback plan. I wasn't going to be the guy waiting for her to figure out what she wanted. With Elise's number blocked and her voice notes deleted, I thought I'd close the chapter for good. The Seattle rain mirrored my mood, steady, relentless, but somehow cleansing. I leaned harder into my routine. Early morning runs, late nights at the design studio, and weekends spent hiking the trails around Mount Rainier. I wasn't okay, not completely, but I was moving forward, piecing myself back together. I stopped checking her sister's Instagram, stopped wondering what Elise was doing. I told myself the worst was over. Then, out of nowhere, a message from an unexpected source shook everything up. It was Claire, Elise's sister, texting me late one night. "Julian, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I need to tell you something. Can we talk?" I stared at the message, my gut twisting. Why was Claire reaching out? Was this another attempt by Elise to pull me back in? I almost ignored it, but something about the tone, direct, no nonsense, made me curious. Against my better judgment, I replied, "What's this about?" She responded quickly, not over text. "Can I call you tomorrow?" I agreed, but I braced myself, expecting some kind of emotional ambush. The next day, Claire called. Her voice was steady, almost apologetic. "Julian, I owe you the truth about what happened at the lake house. Elise didn't tell you everything." She paused, like she was choosing her words carefully. "Our parents have always been obsessed with Ryan. He's from her circle, same hometown, same values, same everything. They never thought you were serious enough. They saw you as a phase." Her words hit like a punch. I felt welcomed in Boise, but now I wondered if their warmth had been an act. Claire went on. "They invited Ryan to the lake house without telling Elise until he showed up. She was blindsided, but she didn't push back. She should have." I gripped the phone, trying to process it. "So why didn't she leave? Why was she all over him in that photo?" Claire sighed. "She wasn't all over him, Julian. That picture was staged. Mom took it, told them to pose like that for the family vibe. Elise went along with it because she's been under their thumb her whole life. I'm not excusing her. She messed up big time, but it wasn't what you think." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to believe it, to rewrite the story in my head, but the other part remembered Elise's silence, her lies, her month-long delay in reaching out. "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked. "Because I saw how she hurt you," Claire said. "And because she's a mess now. She knows she lost something real. I just thought you deserved to know the whole story." I thanked her, kept it brief, and hung up. My head was spinning. Was Claire telling the truth, or was this another layer of manipulation? I didn't know what to trust anymore. The photo had burned itself into my memory, but now I wondered if I'd misread it. Had Elise been pressured, or was she just too weak to stand up for us? Either way, she'd chosen to lie instead of fight for me. I spent the next few days wrestling with Claire's words. Part of me wanted to unblock Elise, to hear her out, but every time I considered it, I remembered the coldness in her voice when she demanded space, the way she'd let me blame myself while she played along with her parents' script. Even if Claire's story was true, it didn't erase the betrayal. It just painted it in a different shade of gray. I decided to keep my distance, but the conversation left a crack in the wall I'd built. Doubt crept in, not about my decision to walk away, but about whether I'd ever really known Elise at all. Then, a week later, something else happened. I was grabbing coffee near my office when I ran into Sam, my friend who'd warned me about Elise months ago. He could tell I was off, even though I tried to play it cool. Over coffee, I finally opened up about everything. The breakup, the lake house, Claire's call. Sam listened, then leaned back, his face serious. "Julian, you dodged a bullet. Maybe her parents pressured her, maybe not, but she made her choices. You don't need to carry her baggage." He paused, then added, "But there's something you should know. I heard from a mutual friend that Ryan's been telling people Elise is back with him. Sounds like he's got his own version of his story. That hit me harder than I expected. Ryan was out there claiming Elise like a trophy, while she was sending me voice notes begging for forgiveness. Was she playing both of us? Or was she caught in a mess she couldn't escape? I didn't know, but I felt the old anger stirring again. Not just at Elise, but at the whole situation. I thanked Sam and left, determined to keep my focus on moving forward. But the questions kept piling up, and I knew this wasn't over yet. The revelation about Ryan boasting that Elise was back with him churned in my mind like a storm. I'd worked hard to distance myself from her, to rebuild my life in Seattle without the weight of her betrayal. But now I was being pulled back into the chaos. Was Elise lying to me again, stringing me along with her tearful voice notes while letting Ryan claim her? Or was she trapped, as Claire suggested, caught in her parents' expectations and Ryan's persistence? Either way, I wanted no part of it. I'd drawn my line, and I intended to hold it. But life, as I was learning, doesn't always let you walk away cleanly. A few days after my coffee with Sam, I got an email from Elise. She must have realized her texts and calls weren't getting through. The subject line was simple: "Please read." Against my better judgment, I opened it. Her words were careful, almost rehearsed. She apologized for the lake house, for the photo, for the silence. She admitted she'd been weak, going along with her parents' push to reconnect with Ryan because it felt easier than fighting them. "I didn't want him, Julian," she wrote. "I was just lost, trying to please everyone. I know I hurt you, and I'll never forgive myself. I just need you to know I loved you, still do." She ended by asking to meet, saying she'd be in Seattle next week for work and wanted to talk face-to-face. I read it twice, my emotions tangled. Part of me felt the old pull, the part that remembered lazy Sundays with her, laughing over bad sci-fi movies. But the other part, the part that had packed her things and shipped them away, saw the email for what it was: too little, too late. She'd had months to be honest, to choose me, and she hadn't. I didn't reply. Instead, I archived the email and went for a run, the Seattle drizzle cooling the anger rising in my chest. I wasn't going to let her words unravel the progress I'd made. But the universe had other plans. That weekend, I was at a local Art.Py 2.0 art gallery with some co-workers, trying to distract myself. I was admiring a painting when I heard a familiar voice behind me. "Julian?" I turned, and there she was, Elise, standing there in a black coat, her eyes wide with surprise. My stomach dropped. I hadn't expected to see her, not here, not now. She stepped closer, hesitant. "I didn't know you'd be here. I was hoping we could talk." I froze, my mind racing. The gallery was crowded, but it felt like we were the only two people in the room. "There's nothing to talk about," I said, my voice low but firm. Her face fell, and for a moment, I saw the Elise I'd loved, vulnerable, searching. "Please," she said softly, "just 5 minutes. I owe you an explanation." I wanted to walk away, but something rooted me to the spot. Maybe it was the need to hear her say it, to finally understand why she'd thrown us away. We stepped outside to a quiet corner of the street, the city's hum fading into the background. She looked nervous, twisting her scarf in her hands. "I messed up, Julian," she started. "My parents, they've always seen Ryan as the perfect match. Stable, predictable, one of their own. When we visited them, they kept talking about how you were great, but not serious. I didn't know how to stand up to them. And at the lake house, Ryan showed up, and I didn't stop it. I should have. I was scared of disappointing everyone, and I ended up hurting you the most." Her words echoed Claire's, but they didn't soften the blow. "You lied to me, Elise," I said. "You let me think it was my fault, that I wasn't enough. And then you ran to him." She flinched, tears welling up. "It wasn't like that. I didn't want him. It was a mistake, a moment of weakness. I thought I could just go along with it and figure things out later. But I lost you, and I can't stop thinking about that." Her voice broke, but I felt a wall between us, built from months of pain. "Why didn't you tell me the truth?" I asked, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. "You let me sit in the dark for weeks, blaming myself." She looked down, her silence louder than words. "I was ashamed," she finally said. "I didn't know how to face you. By the time I realized what I'd done, it was too late. I I shook my head, the anger and hurt rising again. You made that choice, Elise. Not your parents. Not Ryan. You. She nodded, tears falling now. I know. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just needed you to know I'm sorry, and that I loved you, more than I knew how to show. I looked at her, searching for the woman I'd planned to marry, but all I saw was someone who'd chosen the easy path over me. I hope you find what you're looking for, I said, turning to walk away. Her soft Julian followed me, but I didn't look back. That night, I couldn't sleep. Elise's words, Claire's call, Ryan's boasts, they swirled in my head, a puzzle I couldn't solve. Was she telling the truth, or was this another layer of excuses? And why did I still care? Walking away from Elise at the gallery felt like closing a door I'd been holding open too long. Her tears, her apologies, they stirred something in me, but not enough to pull me back. I'd spent months rebuilding, reclaiming the pieces of myself she'd left scattered. Seattle's gray skies felt less heavy now, like they were clearing just for me. I kept running, kept designing, kept living. But the next day, something unexpected landed in my inbox that forced me to face the past one last time. It was an email from Ryan. The subject line read, "We need to clear the air." My first instinct was to delete it, but curiosity, or maybe masochism, made me open it. His message was blunt. "Julian, I know you hate me, and I get why. But you've got the wrong idea about what happened with Elise. I'm not the bad guy here. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen, my pulse quickening. Ryan, the guy who'd waltzed back into Elise's life, who'd posed with her like they were never apart, wanted to talk? I almost laughed at the audacity. But something told me this was the final piece of the puzzle, so I agreed to meet him at a neutral spot, a coffee shop downtown. When I saw Ryan, he looked different from the smug guy in that lake house photo. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes tired. He started talking before I could even sit down. "Julian, I owe you an apology," he said. "I didn't know Elise was with you when her parents invited me to the lake house. They made it sound like she was single, like she wanted to reconnect. I should have asked questions, but I didn't." He paused, running a hand through his hair. "That photo, it was her mom's idea. She kept pushing us together, saying it was for old times' sake. I thought Elise was on board, but now I know she was just stuck." His words lined up with Claire's, but they didn't erase the sting. "You didn't think to check with her?" I asked, my voice cold. "You just assumed she was yours again?" Ryan winced. "I was an idiot. I let my ego get in the way. When I saw how she looked at you, when she talked about you after, I realized she never stopped loving you. I was just a prop for her parents' fantasy." He leaned forward, his voice low. "She's miserable, Julian. She's been fighting with her family, trying to break free from their control. I'm out of the picture now. I just thought you should know." I sat there processing. Ryan's story filled in the gaps, but it didn't change the core of it. Elise had chosen to go along with her parents' plan, to lie to me, to let me drown in doubt while she played a role. "Thanks for telling me," I said, standing up. "But this doesn't fix what she broke." Ryan nodded, like he'd expected that. "Fair enough. I just didn't want you thinking I was some mastermind. I'm sorry, man." I left the coffee shop, my head a mess of relief and frustration. Ryan wasn't the villain I'd imagined, but that didn't make Elise a victim. That night, I sat in my apartment, staring out at the city lights. I thought about everything. Claire's call, Elise's pleas, Ryan's confession. The truth was clearer now. Elise had been caught in her parents' expectations, too weak to fight for what she wanted. But that weakness had cost me months of pain, trust I'd never get back. I didn't hate her anymore, but I didn't want her either. I wanted peace. So I made a choice. I wrote one final email to Elise, short and clear. "I heard everything, from Claire, from Ryan, from you. I understand why you did what you did, but it doesn't change what happened. I'm done, Elise. I wish you well, but don't reach out again." I hit send, then blocked her email. It wasn't about anger. It was about closing the loop, giving myself the closure she never could. In the weeks that followed, I felt lighter. I started painting again, something I hadn't done since college. I reconnected with friends, laughed more, even went on a few dates, not looking for love, just enjoying the moment. I learned a few things from this mess. First, trust your gut. Sam's warning, my own unease, I'd ignored them, and it cost me. Second, love isn't enough if it's not matched with effort. I'd poured everything into Elise, but it was one-sided, and that's a lonely place to be. Third, closure isn't something you wait for. It's something you build. I didn't need her apologies. I needed to choose myself. Most importantly, I learned that walking away isn't giving up, it's strength. Letting go of Elise wasn't about weakness. It was about knowing my worth. I'm still healing, and some days are harder than others. But I'm not stuck anymore. I'm moving forward, carrying the lessons and leaving the pain behind. If you're reading this and you're in that raw, aching place, know this. You'll find your way out. It won't be linear, but you'll see yourself clearer on the other side. And that's worth everything.